Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to another episode of Real Horror Stories and Experience. I am Bella, a wanderer of the night and a collector of the darkest tales. This is Bella Dark Tales, where I share stories that will haunt your dreams. Let's start with our first story. This story comes from an anonymous listener in West Virginia. I've kept their words as raw as possible, only polishing it for clarity. Buckle up, it's a wild one. My first brush with the unexplained happened before I could even form memories. My mom told this story so many times growing up that it feels etched into my bones. Back in the early 90s, when I was just a baby, we lived in a creaky, converted apartment complex in Elkins, West Virginia. The place used to be an old schoolhouse, you know the type. High ceilings, drafty hallways, and that lingering smell of mildew and history. Mom always said the walls felt heavy there, like the air was stuffed with secrets. One night, when I was around 4 years old, she tucked me into bed and spent hours cleaning my playroom. Those toy boxes were ancient solid wood, the kind you'd need two grown adults to lift. The next morning, she woke up at dawn to the sound of my laughter drifting down the hallway. When she rushed in, she found me sitting in the middle of chaos. Every toy box had been flipped upside down, blocks and dolls scattered everywhere. I was staring at the corner, giggling at nothing. When she asked who I was talking to, I pointed and said, "The man in the suit." No hesitation. No fear. Mom tried to brush it off, but curiosity got the best of her. Later, she casually mentioned it to the landlord. The woman went ghostly pale and admitted that a man in a suit had died in that apartment years earlier. Mom never slept easy in that place again. Years later, we moved to Junior, West Virginia, a blink-and-you'll-miss-it town nestled by a river. Our new house was picturesque. White clapboard, wraparound porch, surrounded by pine trees. But peace didn't last long. That summer, my uncle crashed on our enclosed porch to escape the heat. One night around 3 a.m., he jolted awake to the sound of a child's laughter, high-pitched, playful, echoing from the swing set by the river. Assuming one of us kids had sneaked out, he stormed down there, flashlight in hand. What he found still gives me chills. The swing was rocking wildly, like someone had just jumped off. Fresh footprints dotted the sand beneath it, small, barefoot, nothing like ours. He raced inside to check on me and my sisters, only to find us dead asleep, our shoes neatly lined up by the door. The town shrugged it off. Probably some neglected kid, they said. But a week later, I saw her. I woke up to a faint squeak of chains outside my window. Peeking through the curtains, I spotted a little girl in a faded sundress, blonde hair glowing in the moonlight. She was swinging lazily, humming to herself. I woke my dad, but by the time he looked, she'd vanished. We never saw her again. I like to think she just wanted one last moment of joy. But the worst was yet to come. A year later, Dad found an old AA token under the house while fixing a pipe. It was brass, tarnished, stamped with a bold 12 for 12 months sober. I begged to keep it, polishing it until it gleamed, then storing it in a handmade clay cup on my shelf. Weeks passed. I forgot about the coin until the night she appeared. I woke to a figure looming at the foot of my bed, a woman in a pale blue dress, buttoned from wrist to ankle. Her wide-brimmed hat draped a lace veil over her face, but I could still see her hollow eyes. She tilted her head, and my chest seized like an invisible hand was crushing my ribs. I yanked the covers over my face, screaming as she lunged. But nothing. Just cold silence. My parents found me sobbing, convinced it was a nightmare. Until the next morning, I stretched my legs and felt a throbbing ache. Pulling back the blankets, I found 2 handprints, bruised deep purple blue, fingers splayed like someone had gripped me hard. My mom snapped photos. This was the 90s, disposable camera flash and all. Days later, I remembered the coin. But when I checked the cup, it was gone. Vanished. To this day, I can't explain it. The doctors shrugged off the bruises. Coin was never found. And that woman's face? I see it in every shadow, every flicker of light. Was she tied to the token? Angry we'd disturb it? I'll never know. People say I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But those footprints under the swing? None of us own sandals that fit those tiny marks. That man in the suit. The landlord's terror was too real to dismiss. I don't know what's out there. Ghosts, echoes, lost energy. But I do know this. Not all of them rest easy. And when my time comes, I pray I don't linger like they did. This story arrives from William Ben of Kentucky. I will share it as it is in his words to keep it natural. So, let's start our second story of today. My family's roots run deep in the hollers of eastern Kentucky, where the hills hum with old stories. The first tale I ever heard wasn't from a book. It was my mama's trembling voice recounting what happened to my great-granddad, Ephraim. Back in the 1920s, he worked the Black Mountain coal mines, and according to family lore, he didn't die in a collapse or gas leak. No. Mama swore he'd been called by something in the dark. She'd lower her voice whenever she told it, like the walls might hear. We lived in his old farmhouse outside Harlan, a creaky, two-story relic with floors that groaned like a tired bones. Mama claimed Ephraim never really left. She'd blame him for cold drafts in July, misplaced keys, or the smell of sulfur that sometimes seeped through the vents. But the worst was the knocking. 3 raps on the front door, always at midnight. No one there, just the hollow echo of the porch boards. When I was 8, I saw him, or part of him. I woke up to the sound of bootsteps dragging down the hallway. Thud, scrape, thud, like someone favoring a bad leg. My door creaked open, and there, silhouetted by moonlight, stood a figure in a wide-brimmed hat, overalls caked in black dust. No face, just shadows where eyes should have been. I froze, praying it'd leave. After what felt like hours, it turned and limped away, leaving the reek of wet coal behind. Mama found me at dawn, still wide-eyed, clutching my sheets. That's just Ephraim. She lied, too quick. He's checking on us. Years later, when I was 16, me and my buddies Jake and Ricky decided to poke around an abandoned mine shaft off Route 66. Local kids called it the widow's breath. Said if you listen close, you'd hear a woman weeping deep inside. We brought flashlights and a 6-pack of cheap beer, laughing off the stories. The entrance was a jagged mouth in the hillside, timbers rotting. Within minutes, the air turned thick and cold. Ricky joked about ghost miners until his flashlight died. Then mine flickered. That's when we heard it, a low, wet cough right behind us. Jake spun around, beams shaking. Y'all smell that? Burnt hair, sulfur, and something sweet like decay. We bolted, scrambling over rubble. Halfway out, I tripped and landed hard. My hand sank into something warm and sticky. Mud, I told myself. But when we reached daylight, my palm was streaked red. Rust, Jake insisted. Ricky never spoke about it again. Last year, after Mama passed, I inherited the farmhouse. I found her keepsake box in the attic, yellowed photos, a rusted pocket watch, and Ephraim's diary. The entries started normal. Weather reports, coal yields. Then, near the end, April 12th, 1923, found a new vein today. Soft black, but the men refuse to touch it. Say they hear voices in the walls. Jenkins claims he saw a woman down here, all in white. Fool nonsense. But tonight, I heard her too, singing. April 14th. She spoke my name. Says there's treasure deeper in. I'll go alone tomorrow. The final entry was a single sentence, scrawled sideways. She's not a woman. That night, the knocking returned. 3 raps. I opened the door to nothing but the stink of sulfur. Back in my room, the diary lay open on the bed, pages I'd never seen. A crude sketch of a thing with too many joints, its mouth stretched wide. Underneath, in Mama's handwriting, burn this. He's bringing it up. I didn't listen. 2 weeks later, I woke to a sound like nails on stone. At the foot of my bed, a shape crouched, long arms, fingers tapping the floor. Its head tilted, and I saw the hat first. Wide-brimmed, covered in dust. Ephraim? I choked out. It lunged. I screamed, rolling off the bed as the lamp shattered. When I flicked the lights on, the room was empty. but my ankles,
God.
black handprints circled them, blistered like burns. The doctor called it contact dermatitis, but the ointment didn't touch the pain. The diary's gone now. Vanished. But last week, I found coal dust on my porch. And tonight, as I write this, something's scratching at the basement door. People say coal country's haunted by greed and gas. But I know better.
Some things dig up, not down.
And whatever Ephraim woke in that mine, it's still hungry. If you've experienced something like this, you're not alone. Drop us a message, anonymously if you prefer, at email given in description box. The truth is out there, and sometimes it's closer than we think.